In the last chapter of John's Gospel, he recalls Peter going back out to fish and Jesus speaking to the disciples, the fishermen from the edge of the shore. And with this word that he offers, they respond and they have this amazing catch of fish, having spent all night fishing and caught nothing, and then suddenly this amazing catch of 153. Hey everyone, my name is David. I am a hospital chaplain and a creative Christian. And last year at Essence Christian Arts Festival was just amazing. And although I'm really disappointed about not being able to gather together this year in person, it's great that we have this online platform to be able to share together. And so one of my contributions this year is this session on how to write spoken word. Last year at the festival I got to write and perform a spoken word piece, and so here are my top 6 tips for writing spoken word. I hope you enjoy. First thing we notice, and so this is top tip number 1 for writing spoken word, is that Peter knew exactly where he was going. He says to his the rest of his friends, he says, "I'm going out to fish." And so top tip number 1 is know your direction. And to be able to do that, there are 2 parts that you have to consider. And the first is really important, and it's your passion. You need to find something that you're really interested in, and then there's no point in writing a spoken word piece about something that you don't really care about. It has to be passionate, it has to be from your heart, and so find your passion, write from passion. And then as part of that direction, you have purpose, and it's really important to know what your purpose is in writing this piece. Is it something to express your heart, maybe a praise to God, or is it more of a time to teach or reach out to somebody? And when you've decided your purpose, then that will help you in order to know how to write it. And so those first 2 things, from direction, you need to consider your passion and your purpose. Tip number 2 when you're writing spoken word is to go fishing, just as Peter did. And what I'm talking about there is getting your equipment, getting a pen and a pad, and you cast your net in your imagination, and based on what the purpose and the passion and the subject that you're writing about, you just cast your net as far wide as possible and write everything down that you can possibly think about. This is not a time to say if this is a good idea or a bad idea. It's just go wild, go as far outside of the box as you possibly can, and go fishing. Start catching those words, those phrases, those ideas, those little things. Just go out fishing. Be patient. Fishing is to be patient. Don't be afraid to spend all night. Take the pad and paper wherever you go and wherever you are, and just get those ideas down on paper. Go fishing. So tip number 3 is to listen. Remember that voice that was heard from the shore, Jesus speaking to the disciples who hadn't caught any fish during that night. I hope you've done better or are doing better, and you've managed to catch something, but But here's some voices that you need to be aware of during this writing process. The first voice that you need to be aware of is that this is a spoken word piece, and so whenever you're writing, listen to how the words sound. Read it back to yourself constantly so that you hear what those words sound like. As part of that, you may be tempted sometimes to listen to that inner voice, that critic, and I would encourage you not to let the critic speak until right at the end, when you're trying to perfect everything and narrow things down and edit. But before that, don't let that inner critic speak. And then maybe another two things would be, the first would be listen to other spoken word poets. Listen to how they speak and perform, and get some tips from them, and to be inspired by them. And then finally, it's the voice that causes you to sit up and take notice. And so always have your ear to the words and the phrases. And when something makes you, something stands out to you, make a special note of that. So always listening when you're writing. So my fourth tip when it comes to writing spoken word is that you have to remember that you have two sides to your boat. Here's how that could help you during your writing process. Remember, if you've got stuck, or you seem to be going down a wrong pathway with your writing, there's always a chance to branch off and go a different way. There's another side that you can explore. Remember that you can stop and pause and come back to it with a different frame of mind, with a different perspective, with fresh eyes. Often with writing spoken word, it's about leaving a piece and coming back to it. So you don't have to finish it all in one go. There are two sides to your boat. And then maybe you want to create a list and begin to start separating some of the things that you've been fishing for, and have a list of things that work for this particular piece and ones that don't work for this piece. But always remember that everything that doesn't work for one piece will fit in another piece, and you're not just fishing for this particular piece of a spoken word. You are fishing for a whole collection of spoken word pieces. So remember, there are two sides to your boat. So I really love tip 5, and the fifth tip is to be aware that there are going to be times during this process where you are just ready to dive in and to go with the flow. You find your spirit is on a roll, you find the words coming to you quickly, and it's really important that at this point you take advantage of all of that energy, enthusiasm, and everything that you feel in those moments, and you're to dive right into that, just as Peter dived off the boat into the water when he knew that Jesus was on the shore. I want you to be mindful of those moments and don't miss them. Those moments are sometimes rare, and so it's really important that when they come along, you go all in and get as much out of them as you possibly can. And if you feel as though maybe that you're waning, you can always go back to the fishing, but take advantage of moments where you can dive right in. So my sixth and final tip is that you have two oars in order to row your boat. And those two oars are rhythm and rhyme. And sometimes you can fall into the trap of just focusing on rhyme, because some of the poems that we've heard, and we're just really impressed with the rhyming structure. But I want to say that rhythm is equally or perhaps more important than rhyme, and you should use rhyme in order to help with the rhythm. And both of these together are the oars that are going to row you back to shore And so experiment with them and play with them, and use those two things to help you to create an amazing spoken word piece. So remember, the two oars that you have are rhythm and rhyme. So you've done all the hard work, you've got back onto the shore, all your friends are there, Jesus is there, the fire is going, and you're about to enjoy an amazing breakfast on the beach. And this is the perfect opportunity to share the spoken word piece that you've so passionately and lovingly created. Sometimes it's been hard, but you've pushed through, and you've made this amazing piece. So share it around the campfire with everybody. Have fun with it, enjoy it, and let's share our creativity together, friends, for God's glory on this earth. And I hope you have fun writing your spoken word piece. God bless you. Bye-bye.